release of documents that have been hidden for decades related to the killing of John F. Kennedy. Now, President Trump ordered the release on Monday. They came out yesterday, Tuesday, and now here it is, Wednesday, and people have been pouring through them, trying to piece together any kind of new information that might be contained that would shed any new light on the assassination that rocked the world, that fateful day in Dallas in 1963. So, a couple of questions. What have we learned, if anything, that's new? And maybe even a bigger question: why were these documents kept hidden for so long? So, we're going to dig into it for you right now here on Fox 10 Talks. So this gives, professional historians have been waiting for this day for a very long time. But I think, people by the millions around the country have always been interested in it. And, there are a lot of conspiracy theorists who are out there saying we still have never been able to know the whole story. And from what we are learning from what has been released, it's, and there's Lee Harvey Oswald, the killer of John F. Kennedy. It's kind of like a wannabe spy's dream, because you're talking about blurry handwritten notes being released, international cables, thousands of pages. And get this, in the aftermath of the assassination, in Dallas in 1963, just 50% of people thought there was more than one man involved. It was very close. It was a kind of a 50-50 deal. But the idea of a conspiracy has actually gained traction over time. In the 70s, more than 80% of people thought that there were more people or groups involved. And now, here we are all these years later, and still over 60% of Americans believe so. So the experts are now saying they do believe the main reason the files remained hidden for so long was not to protect any person that was involved in the assassination, but that it was to protect our nation's intelligence assets, that far and away, that was the number one reason. Even now, documents are being released, and names or other important information occasionally shows up as redacted, blacked out. But the worry was it was going to expose our intelligence gathering techniques to our enemies, our foreign enemies, particularly the Soviet Union at the time, and then put those techniques and even individuals at great risk, because what the CIA was doing, particularly back in those days when HUMINT, as they call it, human intelligence, was so crucial a part of the whole situation. So, as you know, John F. Kennedy was killed when two gunshots, the first in his throat, the second that hit the back of his head, when he was traveling in an open-car motorcade. By the way, that Dealey Plaza, you can still travel to this day. There is literally an X that marks the spot on the street where the presidential limo was when that fateful shot came out. So the New York Times is reporting that they quote a historian at Harvard who says, "I doubt these releases are going to overturn our understanding of what happened on that terrible day in Dallas." That's Frederick Logevall. But he added, quote, "We should prepare to be surprised." And so another fellow, they're quoting a guy named Dave Garrow, who's the author of The FBI and Martin Luther King, in articles about intelligence agencies, predicted the release will not be anything in terms of, any kind of stunning new information when it comes to the assassination itself. But nevertheless, there are documents being released. And part of the executive order from President Trump is not just the JFK assassination, but also the assassination of RFK, Robert Kennedy, who was running for president back in 1968, and then the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr. By the way, according to the New York Times, there's still information to come out regarding the assassination of Martin Luther King. That wiretaps were installed by the FBI to record him in his office, his home, his hotel rooms, and according to the New York Times, even recorded him with sexual partners. They were talking about Martin Luther King and all of those wiretaps that the FBI managed to get away with all those years ago. But of course, the main focus is on JFK and the assassination. And I think the questions finally can be answered that the main reason it's been kept quiet or hidden all these years, Syleste, is that they wanted to protect our intelligence gathering efforts. I just want to say, Syleste, I traveled a few years ago to Dallas, and it became very clear to me that Lee Harvey Oswald acted alone, and I want to tell you why.
Okay.
Because when he, finished the assassination there at the Texas School Book Depository up on the 6th floor, he gathered up his rifle, put it in its case, walked out of the building, and got on a city bus to take him back to his house. There was no extrication plan at all. And if any organization or country had been behind it, you gotta believe there would have been a major effort to get him out of the area,
right,
if he had been successful in some sort of a conspiratorial plot. Syleste, you can look all this up online. I went to the neighborhood where his house was.
Okay.
There was, he then was involved in the shooting of a police officer who tried to stop him in that Dallas neighborhood, and to try to get away from the police. Then he ran into that movie theater. And the movie theater, you can still go into that neighborhood and see where the theater was. And he just went into a theater to hide in the dark. He had, it seemed to me, almost no thinking being done in terms of, if this actually works, what am I going to do next? It seemed to me like he was literally flailing.
Well, I think the interesting part, and this touches on not just this case, but other cases as well. When you are hiding documents or not making them public, I think that's really what fuels conspiracy theories.
Good
and it
point.
fuels people to think, well, why are you hiding it? Why can't we read about it? And so I think, if nothing else, if the release of the documents just allows people to read into them and just to make their own decision on what they believe may have taken place.
Yeah. Now, there is a report that there was an informant who told the CIA, or it was either the CIA or the FBI, that he was concerned that JFK might
on the street. They have an X that marks the spot.
We were talking about that.
And it actually, when you look at the videos or pictures, it looks like a much larger area. But I remember when I was in Dallas and I stood on the X.
Yeah.
And it was early on a Sunday morning, and there was no traffic or anything like that.
Right.
And I remember it was like, wow, everything was so close. It's actually a very small area.
Yes.
And there was not much, when you take a look at the video, there wasn't a whole lot of protection that they had for him. I mean,
my gosh.
If you were, he was 3, 4, 5 feet from the edge of the road where people were standing there waiting to just greet him, like the public.
Yeah.
And so things have changed in terms of presidential protection.
Yes.
And
absolutely.
So that's got to make you think too, in a way, but very small area.
Syleste, do you want to, I know people are commenting about this.
Yes.
Let's just look at some of the comments in terms of what we are seeing. By the way, you can read all the comments now, up and down. I'm trying to point to it way over there. You can read all the comments.
Do you see the one by Da Vinci, I think it is. Originally, it was supposed to be released in 91. Who benefits from these delays in release?
Yeah.
What's the connection to some like Mafia, LBJ there? So this again goes to some of the theories that people think. And so the release of it hopefully will flush out some of the information.
Yeah. Okay. The conspiracy theory is going to be out there. I think it's going to be out there for the rest of all of our lives.
Yes.
But I think we have a pretty good fix now on why all of this documentation was held back. You had guys who were spies, men and women who were intelligence assets, who could have been directly threatened if more information was released at the time. Well, now, just about everybody who would have been working in that field has since passed away.
Yeah.
We are going to jump onto a couple of other stories this morning, including what the DOJ is now saying appears to be a case of domestic terrorism. The hatred for Elon Musk and for Doge, some people are wondering, well, just how far will it go? You have somebody yesterday in Las Vegas who spray painted on a Tesla building the word resist and then set fire to all of these Teslas, which with this video from Hal Sparks in Storyful, it just shows you what was going on there. Several Teslas set on fire with Molotov cocktails, and Musk himself said it seemed like terrorism. And it seems like at the DOJ, they agree with that. So, the rhetoric has been to such a level that it does make you wonder, kind of where we're going from here. We don't know until they make the arrest, other than the fact the guy did spray paint the word resist on the building, who exactly was responsible. But they are going to investigate it as a case of domestic terrorism.
Well, and I'm sure that Teslas are so popular out, and I'm sure a lot of people know this, but Teslas have cameras on the outside of the vehicles.
Oh, I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
Celeste.
So if these Teslas, likely they are connected to the cloud system, because anytime you need an update on your car, it's like a computer. It downloads while you're sleeping. There's likely some cameras that are getting video of who this potential person could be.
Well, the thing about it is this. We are going to take a break. We're up against a break. But the judge that ruled against Elon Musk and Doge in a major case yesterday, and it's our poll question as well, and it's all coming up in 2 minutes after we show you the mystery cam. What a pleasant freeway interchange that is. And by the way,
it's pleasant. Yes.
We'll take your guesses. We are going to jump right in. Thank you, Low Philosophy for Alabama, and Linda for Texas, and Lisa in New Mexico. Celeste, what do you think you want to guess here?
I'm gonna go like Oklahoma's a really good guess.
I agree.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna go Oklahoma.
Okay. Since you're there, I guess I'll go next door and go into, well, it's kind of right next door to Missouri. So is it a Missouri? Is it an Oklahoma? Or is it somewhere else?
Missouri?
Ladies,
It's a Missouri.
Missouri.
Oh, Ohio.
Is that right?
Miamisburg,
Oh,
Ohio, in
let's go back. It's funny because it wasn't that long ago they were getting the snow, but it looks like the grass. There's some places in the country where it's like a lawn. You're driving down a freeway and you're like, it's like a lawn.
It really is.
What do they use? Miracle-Gro?
Probably. This is God's country.
But there's Ohio, and spring has sprung in Ohio. Celeste, some of the other comments that you've been reading as people have been chatting here in the chat box. And, as we kind of move through it, it's a great chance for you guys at home to see what people are saying.
Yeah, so Kim Winnett says, I just want to know the truth behind the grassy knoll conspiracy. I agree with Ron on this. And a couple of other comments. Oswald was in the Marines. Brian
Yes.
Cooper says the rifle he used was known to jam and not be accurate.
Yeah, I want to say that Oswald actually first did serve overseas. I believe it was either in Korea or somewhere in the Asian theater, and was kind of involved in some intel efforts. And yes, we all know the story about how he had traveled to the Soviet Union.
Yes.
He was like a big admirer of communism. He
Right.
wanted to live there. So that I think adds to some of the conspiracy theory stuff. Okay, Celeste, let's talk about these judges. This is our poll question.
Yes.
Time after time after time are now ruling against Donald Trump, the Trump administration, Elon Musk, Doge, etc. Now, we know there's this big fight going on regarding those flights, regarding Venezuelan criminals who were sent to El Salvador.
Gang members.
After an agreement had already been struck between our country and El Salvador to move them to prisons there. We've also got the whole issue of the Palestinian activist,
Yes.
who now a judge has just ordered that he not be kept in Louisiana, but come back to New Jersey so they can begin a case there. And then we have all these other cases where they have been trying to cut government spending. And in case after case, it looks like they are losing those efforts as well in court.
Or at least temporarily, right? I mean, they're going to have to double back and try to see, if they can actually push these through.
A federal judge did rule that the dismantling of USAID was some sort of a violation of the U.S. Constitution, and this particular judge then blocks Elon Musk and Doge from making any further cuts. The administration was ordered to restore email and computer access to all USAID workers. The judge's ruling, though, appears to stop short of reversing the firings or fully bringing back the agency to 100%. So one of the questions is, how do you feel about this continued string of losses in court? Federal judges keep ruling against President Trump. What's your take? Well, people definitely have opinions. We're now up to 250 votes. Some of these poll questions, Celeste, get 1,000 to 2,000 votes.
Easily.
When we pop them up for you every day. 23% say, you know what, this is good. Judges should have the power to stop the president, to overrule him. And in some cases, we're just talking about individual judges, not even the full court.
Yeah.
If any kind of an interest group thinks maybe we can get a certain judge to issue a temporary restraining order, we can at least get a temporary victory in court. Now, 61% say this is bad. What's happening is that these groups are using liberal judges to thwart the will of the voters. And 16% say, you know what, let's just take a deep breath and see how it all plays out. The system overall is working. Let's wait to see how the Supreme Court rules.
So let me read a couple of comments that are a little bit farther down on that poll question.
Yeah.
Lisa Dinsmore says, he is our commander-in-chief. We voted, we spoke. He is now doing what we asked of him. People say we are not at war, but we are against drug cartels, crime in our country. This man that the American people voted for, he is doing his job. Let me give you another side here. It says, this is how the government works. This is how it has always worked. The president doesn't have absolute power. It's sad to see how many people know nothing about government and history. And then one more. We have a system for a reason. This is Sear P. H. Honey, I believe. We have a system for a reason. It should be followed, checks and balances, which the checks and balances are an important part of our government. It really is a part of the foundation of those three branches of power in the federal government. So
that's Troy who was making that remark. Troy B.
Sear PH Honey. But Troy says, I think it's important things are done correct. I support our president and what is happening, but checks and balances are always needed. It's important, I think, for us to look at what's happening, but I do think that you do need some checks and balances. And it's not just for this president, it's for every president.
Hey, let's talk about, there is some discussion today about more job cuts. Now, a lot of the legal complaints have been about the Department of Government Efficiency specifically. Now, this is interesting because it's actually coming from the DOD itself, the Pentagon announcing that they'll be cutting up to 60,000 civilian jobs and that about a third have already accepted voluntary resignations. That probably is part of the buyout program. But the Defense Department says the goal is to reduce the workforce. Even with 60,000 people laid off, that's only about 8% of the overall workforce at the DOD. So just kind of interesting in terms of how that's going. And one more look at the poll question there. You can certainly join in on the conversation as well. We shall see. It'll be really interesting as to whether or not there are maybe some new legal challenges to that, to 60,000 people losing their jobs over there at the Department of Defense, because that sounds like it's actually coming from the department and not from Doge. Celeste, let's talk a little bit about the mystery of Kelly Clarkson.
Oh, yes.
We were on the air this morning in our segment with Brooke Hoover over at 102.5 KNIX. We were talking a little bit about it. The thing that I think had people worried was there were 10 shows in a row. They pre-tape. There were 10 shows in a row that she was not there and was not part of it. And if you can imagine this, the person that they got to fill in said, I was just here. I just showed up at the studio today to promote my movie. And up until 5 minutes ago, I thought that's what I was going to do. And they said, could you please host the show?
She should have said, thank you. Where's my contract? And how much are you paying me to host this show today?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I know.
And where are my free snacks? And can I get a latte, by the way, or just like an Americano, please?
Go ahead and pitch the full attitude, the superstar attitude. You met Kelly Clarkson. You really liked spending time with her.
Yeah, she was great. I think it was last May we went out there and we were on the show. And it really was spectacular. She is a mother at heart. She loves her children. She loves her family. I believe her family, they live in Montana. She's got her children. Half the time they live in the city with her in New York. And she said she loves living there because they pop out their door. They can go to any restaurant, do anything in the city. They can go to Central Park, ride bikes, do all this fun stuff.
That's super cool.
But when she came back for the show, to stick with this, she said she didn't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
She didn't want to talk about why she was missing.
Yeah, she doesn't. And so I think that fuels some speculation. We have seen reports there was a family emergency.
Yes.
We hope she's doing okay. Hey, are you hungry this morning? I mean, I know you just did the morning show. You haven't had time to eat yet.
No, I haven't eaten anything, Ron.
Okay, well, look what you can get if you go over to the D-Backs this year. They are unveiling all kinds of new food. And here we go. Giant loaded barbecue chicken potato. That was it right there, as a matter of fact. Sweet and spicy Korean wings. Filthy mac fries. No, they're the wings right there. Here come the filthy mac fries. I love this. White cheddar mac and cheese and pork belly bacon. and then the Grand Slam Slamwich.
Slamwich. Remember when they used to have the big unit?
Yes, of
Because
course.
Randy Johnson was the pitcher there.
Oh, yeah.
People love a good hot dog and the good
Yeah.
eats at the ballpark.
I know.
It's the
so
best ever.
great. It's so great. Hey, some of the other stories we want to talk about today have to do with, this is such an interesting headline to me. How much those astronauts that got stranded in space for 9 months, let's
Right.
face it, they are owed a big apology. I mean, we got them home safe and sound. They're happy to be on Earth. But did you see how gaunt Sunny Williams looked? I mean,
Yeah.
obviously she had really aged. Now, you've been in space in a zero-gravity
Ron.
environment. What?
It takes, you don't wake up like this. You got to get your hair done. You got to
Wake up like what, Celeste?
like anything, like this.
No, okay, fine. Yeah.
Like poor gal, she's probably thinking, I need a massage.
Yeah.
I need a pedicure.
Yeah.
I need to get my hair did.
You know what
she's like, come on, let me get ready.
You know what else she needs? Is a little extra pay. But here is the story that I think is going to probably surprise a lot of people. She's going to be, and this is both for Sunny and for Butch. Basically, according to the Washingtonian, they interviewed a former NASA astronaut. They're only going to get their basic salary. No overtime.
What?
No double time. No holiday pay.
Are you kidding me?
None of this. They'll get a little bit of money for incidentals, whatever that is. Toothpaste, I don't know. And she said, this is Katie Coleman. She said, for me, it was about $4 a day. So during my mission in 2010 and 2011, it worked out to about $600 of extra pay. But otherwise, it's regular governmental pay, which we believe for their category as government employees, it's somewhere between $125,000 and $162,000, which is a great salary. But it's not like they are going to get really any extra at all.
Ron.
I know.
That is a tragedy.
Don't you wish you were their agent?
Absolutely. And actually, Sunny, if you're watching this morning,
of course she
reach
is.
out, slide into my DMs on the gram, Syleste Fox 10, and let me know how I can help.
Okay.
It's a tragedy, although
Yes.
it was a beautiful landing.
Yeah, it
That's what you're
was.
looking at right here.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, they're going to get used to life on Earth, that's for sure, and we honor them. That is absolute.
Yeah,
But
well
here's
done,
some
well done.
perspective. Still a pretty good paycheck, right? Up to $162,000 a year. You know what Neil Armstrong made for being the man on the moon?
Interesting. What did he make?
That salary back in those days, $27,400.
Ron, they're putting their life on the line
Yeah, I know.
for science or to experimentation.
Yep.
They deserve more.
We have to say our goodbyes today. It's been a jam-packed half hour, but we'll be back tomorrow.
All right. Have a great day, everyone.